Don't get too caught up in what other people think. It's like there are certain qualities you have that stand out and shine, and they really are a big part of who you are. And a lot of times people can't see that. You can start to see a through line of common feedback, common adjectives people use, and then you can see, oh, wow, I am like this. Or maybe you'll see something like, you don't want to be like that. And you're like, okay, that's something to change.
Hi, I'm Linus Woods Mullins, and I love to help women to vibe, to be more vibrant, intuitive, beautiful, and empowered in midlife. So come on, let's vibe.
It seems to have become the trend lately to hear people talk about their branding. It's against their brand, it's for their brand. And some might wonder, what does that mean? For those of you who are in the midlife journey, like I am, I'm beyond midlife, almost 69. Some might think, what does that mean to me? Is that something that only Gen X talks about or younger? Or is it something that could be applicable to me? And that's why I'm so excited to have with us Chanoa Inez, Chanoa Inez. She is a creator of the Magnetize Your Personal Brand. It's a program that combines personal transformation and personal branding to help clients enrich their lives and attract better opportunities. She's also the author of Dream On: How to Create the New Life of Your Dreams After Upheaval and Loss. Chanoa, welcome to the Vibe Living Podcast. It's wonderful having you here today.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Linus. Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about you and how you came to be passionate about the idea of women having their own brand.
Yeah, it was interesting. Shortly after I finished writing the manuscript for my book, I kept thinking about how everyone's talking about the importance of having a personal brand, especially because we collectively we do so much business online. So it's even more important from that standpoint, how to stand out, how to be remembered. But most of the focus is on the external aspects, social media templates. What does your website look like? Even how are you dressing yourself when you go to a keynote presentation? And all those things are definitely important, but they are so small in comparison to really who the person is behind the brand. And that is a journey that I learned the long, hard way that I know most business owners do, that we don't realize there's so much inner work to be done. And whatever that work is, if that's not being taken care of, it translates almost in real time in your business. I combined my lived experience and then some of the principles from my personal transformation book to make this program, because my definition of a personal brand is the essence of who you are and how that essence is perceived. So if a person's not comfortable showing up as themselves, if they're not confident, if they're unable to set healthy boundaries, they can just end up in all kinds of situations they don't want to be in business, or they can fade away into the background when they actually have something really meaningful to offer.
Now, how does one go about creating their personal brand?
With my approach, is a little different. It's working from the inside out. So really identifying, where have I been hiding? What are the things that keep coming up, and how can I connect the dots? Do I always end up with maybe clients who are not a good fit or referrals that are not a good fit? Is that a messaging problem, or is it the energy that I'm exuding in the world through the exchanges I'm having, through the communication I'm having with people? So it's really a kind of choose your own adventure in that sort of way, because we're not all going to have the same behind the scenes things to work on. But once you've established that, it's, which you can call that collectively nourishing the relationship with you have with yourself, and then also looking and changing how you're interacting with others, then you go into the more classic parts of the program. So communication, positioning, and messaging.
That's interesting. So it does require a certain amount of inner work to get to those answers in terms of figuring out what your brand might be. How do you help a person to peel back the layers and to do that inner work?
It just depends what they come to me for, or if they take the self-guided course, they're going to see what the different components are. And I really emphasize for them to focus on the areas that are really what they need to work on the most. As an example, I can say, let's look at the confidence piece. The first podcast interview I did, no one will hear it because it was actually unusable. There was no editing that could ever take care of it. And that was only a few years ago. And I'd done some public speaking and things like that, and it went fine. But it was a time in my life that I had made so many concessions, and I surrounded myself with people who I didn't realize that I chose people who would keep me in a victim mindset I used to have. So those exchanges, each exchange would chip away at my confidence, whether consciously or subconsciously. And so even though that first podcast interview was actually with a dear colleague and friend, no video, the privacy of my home to record, I remembered I just had such a visceral reaction of fear. And it was because I was really questioning everything I was doing. And so that's why it's a very custom experience. So if somebody heard my second podcast interview, which is a few years later, related to my book, they would think it's two different people. And it really is two different people because there's a version of me who had barriers to setting healthier boundaries, had that diminished confidence still. And it's like now just seeing how I respond. What it is, I changed, but I've only become more of myself. And so that's really important for me to help people because business owners, they often show up like an avatar of this is how a professional person in my field shows up. This is how this person with this many followers on LinkedIn shows up. And they just do that. And it's really forgettable because it's not authentic to them. But when we let go of all these things that we've collected along the way, and that's going to be different for everybody. But letting that go, it allows us to become more of who we are. And then that's able to be reflected through, of course, our content, but also our exchanges with people. And it's not that everyone's going to be your client or a referral source. There are just so many different ways people can gravitate towards your message, whether that's just supporting what you're doing, wanting to share that with, oh, I have this media contact, making an introduction. People really gravitate towards other people and you will repel some people, of course, but that's okay. It's not about trying to please everyone. It's really getting comfortable standing in your own skin and saying your message and letting that truth shine through. Your great fit people can find you.
I love that message too, because I do realize that a lot of women, especially as they're starting business, they may not really have an idea of their brand, but they have an idea of what it is they want to do. How can they bridge that gap of what it is they want to do to a brand that represents what they want to do, but also represents them as an individual person?
Yeah, yeah, definitely the personal brand, it's personal, but then you also have your business brand, right? So, yeah, there's bridging that together and also looking at, first of all, why am I even doing any of this? What is it about what I do that brought me here? What are my values? And then also just looking at from the perspective of personality and interest, what are these things about me that I can now bring into my messaging? Because having a personal brand, it's not that you're just talking about your business all the time.
Right.
You're bringing yourself into it. That doesn't mean you have to be super vulnerable. I have a vulnerable book, so my content can get vulnerable. But I know a lot of people shy away from personal branding content because they're like, I don't want to get vulnerable. I'm a private person. But you can be private and still be posting publicly with your personal brand. You don't need to tell everyone what you did all day, but what are the things that light you up? What do they have to do with your business or some aspect of how you serve people that you could bring it up to be relevant? So you become this well-rounded character. Like in a movie, you avoid having like a flat character, or in a book. It's the same thing because a lot of people, one, they're only going to be exposed to you and your work online. And so if they've never met you, who are you? So when you're adding these other dimensions, you just become this more whole figure.
How important is it for you to show up authentically in your brand? Because I'm wondering, there are some who they know what their brand is for their business, but perhaps they don't feel that they look like what they talk about in their brand. How do they maintain their authenticity, but still yet be able to ensure people that what the brand is doing, they can actually do or be?
Oh, that's interesting.
You know why I say that? The reason why I say that is that I've been in this business for about 18 years in online marketing. And when I first got started, I was always, since I'm in wellness, I was always interested in that wellness entrepreneur who was talking about nutrition and fitness and movement or whatever it was she was talking about in the wellness genre. But she didn't quite look that way.
Mm.
And that always made me think, does she just know it academically, but she's not really into implementation? Or is it because she does do implementation, but what she's saying doesn't work? It always made me question whether or not she had the real expertise to be able to do what it is that she said she could do, because she didn't look like that. How important is that really? Because that's just my opinion, but how important is that really in terms of a person showing up authentically in their brand?
I think it's really important. I do think the external presentation is important, but that point that you brought up, it's very specific because it gets down to actually physical characteristics. And that's not something I can address, but I know what you mean because I don't like to get facials, but I've gone to the esthetician and then I've seen their skin and I was like thinking, oh, it would make me uncomfortable if I had an acne problem and then seeing that all the estheticians had an acne problem. So that's hard for me to get into because I know, I don't know why that is, and I can't speak to that on that physical level, but definitely with the other, let's say, things that wouldn't require like an invasive shift because they're also beauty founders and they start doing a lot of fillers and things like that because they feel that pressure to look so young all the time. So it's not all just from their products. So just if we can go from a different standpoint, if it's a luxury company and they show up in an in-person meeting or off camera and they look unkempt, like they just rolled out of bed.
The antithesis of luxury, right? They look like a luxury brand person. Yeah.
Yes, then we have a problem. A friend of mine shared this really interesting anecdote from his father, but he knows someone who was signing a multi-million-dollar deal, and the woman handed him the agreement, and he took the paper from her and he went to sign, and they were working on this deal for months, and she saw his nails, and he had clearly been chewing the beds of his nails, and his nail, yeah. And she said, "What happened to your nails?" And he said, "Oh, I bite them." And she said, "The deal's off." And that was it. And it's wild. And it's saying that could be one, just a presentation, but I think also too, like a stress management standpoint. Can we partner with the business owner with this unmanaged
Who
stress?
is obviously stressed out, right? Or
Yeah.
at least by my evaluation, was stressed out. And the reason why I brought that up too is that when I first got started, there were a few people that were copying my colors and like my messaging and other things. And people would let me know, this was going on. They said, "Are you going to talk?" Whatever. I was like, no, because it doesn't really matter, because my voice is my voice. My ideas are mine, and no one's going to communicate the way I'm going to communicate. Not that I'm better than they are, but I'm different. If people want to work with me, they will. If they want to work with that other person based upon things that they're saying that I wrote, they will very quickly figure out that this person really doesn't have that same philosophy, isn't that same kind of energy, that same entity. And that's why I think also it's really important that people identify and fall in the realm of their authenticity. And I think too that for the midlife women who listen to this podcast, these are women between the ages of, I don't know, the average demographic is 45 to 55, but I have some that are as old as 80 that listen to this podcast. We go through a metamorphosis of figuring out who we are now, that our bodies are changing, our environment in terms of relationships and all that are changing. Maybe we're ready to change careers. So it feels like it begins to shift. And what might have been okay for us in our 20s and 30s in terms of a brand changes. And it could be that our philosophy of life or the things that we're interested in, or even our training hasn't changed that much, but how we present it might change. And that's why I was asking about authenticity and how important it is for people to be able to find their voice within their brand.
Yeah. Oh, you brought up so many really important points. Definitely, there are a lot more copycats today, and especially with AI tools that are stealing thought leaders' content. And then the founder will not even know where that's coming from, and they'll just not realize it until somebody says, "Hey, that ripped off my content." So, yeah, there are a lot of things like that happening, but you just spoke to the answer for that, which is definitely nobody can replicate you. Nobody. You are one of one, and that's always going to shine through. That's really important. But in this age of AI where there's so much generic content, and also it's never been easier to plagiarize others' work. It's never been more important to have a personal brand because that's something that cannot be taken away from you.
If you're curious about supporting your metabolism naturally, check out Aura Organics GLP-1 Up. It's a plant-based supplement formulated with 4 clinically studied botanical ingredients that help support your body's natural GLP-1 production. It helps with your healthy blood sugar response, appetite regulation, and energy balance. Plus, it's third-party tested, non-GMO, and made with clean ingredients you can trust. Learn more by using my affiliate link in the show notes and take one more step towards feeling your very best. Just a quick note, the link in today's show notes is an affiliate link, which means I may earn a small commission if you decide to purchase at no additional cost to you.
Absolutely. And what is the true significance of becoming really visible in your business?
Oh, there are quite a few benefits to that. One, of course, getting in front of great fit prospects. Two, it helps people build trust. There are so many studies on just the amount of times you've seen someone's face and if you've been able to hear their voice. It's part of the success of podcasts too. There's this thing about there's this connection that's formed rather than it just being a text-based. I'm a writer, been a writer my whole life. Words are important, but when somebody can connect a face to a name or a voice to a name or a movement for a video post, it starts to add in, all of these things that we pick up when I'm speaking with you. There are things I observe consciously, and then there are also subconscious cues that are going in the background based on our exchange here. And so all those data points add up and they make it much more possible, much easier to build trust. Two, because people do business with people, it's really, okay, great. Our businesses are a good fit, but who's behind the scenes and what's the energy of that person? What's their values? Do I think they have expertise, but also do we click? Is there alignment there?
Is there that's very important. And I was thinking too that when I first started my business, the name of my company is Praiseworks, but I've had several brands within Praiseworks. And initially it was Praiseworks because I thought I wanted to teach dance because in my other life I was a dancer and I wanted to teach dance to women over 40. But I quickly found out there was so much more that they needed than just dance. I wanted to be able to do something that was going to help them feel better, look better, be better, whatever it was. And I said, okay, this is just a small fraction of it. And that's how I got into the mind, body, spirit movement. And then when I got into that, I began putting together wellness programs. And I had a brand called Wellness Woman. And that went on for about 5 or 6 years. But I felt like something was missing in that brand in terms of what I wanted to say, in terms of the evolution, in terms of my evolution of what I thought a midlife woman should be thinking about. And that's where V.I.B.E came in. And V.I.B.E is an acronym for being vibrant, intuitive, beautiful, and empowered. And it's funny how that all came about because I was thinking about myself and in terms of how I would like to be at the top of my game. I want to have my vibrancy. I want to be intuitive. I want to have that inner beauty that radiates out. And I want to feel empowered to live the life that I want. So that's where V.I.B.E came from. So it was an evolution. It started out as a dance studio. So when that happens, is it something that women should worry about? Oh my gosh, I'm changing. Or should they find a way to embrace that and incorporate it into something that kind of takes all those lives into consideration?
No, definitely embrace the change. Even major corporations, they have rebrands over time. I used to help them with brand voice and tone guides and brand guides, which is, I always called them a living document when I handed them to them. This has to evolve as you evolve. If you keep it static, it's not going to keep up with you, and there's going to be a disconnect. Same thing with your personal brand. And everything that you just described, they're all still connected, but they were evolving along with you. And I think that's the beauty of defining your purpose. And so the purpose is not going to say what those businesses are, but if you can ladder all of those back up to your purpose. And yeah, I would definitely say embrace the change. And that's another thing I see often, a hurdle why some people are afraid to be visible. A lot of business owners, when they pivot, they're excited about this new chapter of their business or this new offer, but they're so terrified about what people are going to think, or will my current clients think I'm moving away from them? And so they will tell me about these wonderful programs, and you can't find anything about them on their website, on their LinkedIn. And I'm just like, okay, great. When are you going to let the world know? But they just are so afraid that it's going to turn people away, or that they're going to lose business over it, or how people will judge this next evolution because it's, oh, people know me for this, as if I'm stuck there. So I think it's
No,
really important
that's
to do that.
interesting, and that's also an issue I think that some like women come up to when they realize that what they've been doing for 20 years, they just don't want to do it anymore, or they don't want to do it the same way. As an entrepreneur of the last 18 years, I have become queen of the pivot. Now, my messaging has never really changed. Wellness for women over 40 in their mind, body, and spirit by teaching them about holistic practices, fitness, nutrition, and spiritual renewal. That has never changed. But the vehicle through which I have communicated that and the emphasis that I place on some things within that messaging rather than others has begun to change as the market began to pivot. And when I take a look at women branding themselves, I'm wondering if that could be the same way. That as you have more life experience, as you peel back the layers and get to know yourself even more and embrace the fact that you are changing and aging and everything else, maybe your branding changes. You're still the same person, but
Right.
you've, I don't know, I hate to use this old adage, but for lack of a better example, like wine, fine wine, it's getting better. It's getting better with age. And so it may be the same brand, same kind of wine, but it tastes better because it's have more time to age.
Yes, and definitely. And I think that's one of the beauties, that's part of the beauty of being a business owner, is that you always have a choice. You can always change what you're doing. And I think it's more like a refinement that's happening over time. And that often happens when you have a new evolution of your business or a new offer, because you can have an idea and you can launch it and then you can realize, oh, it's actually missing this. Or maybe it's more suited to this subsegment of clients. So you're just going back and refining it. So I think it's really important to not feel like, oh, wow, everyone's going to see me showing up differently. And what are they going to think? And ideally you don't wait until, okay, I'm going to launch this and see what people think. Ideally, you recognize that you're feeling that way inside, you're feeling that discomfort, you're feeling your nervous system, panic, and then you find a way to help your nervous system catch up with you. And you convince yourself, and when you're completely convinced, like, this is great, what I'm doing, it's great, I'm fine, I'm safe. And then you can go ahead and look at what the comments are, but don't look for that external validation first, because that's a slippery slope.
Yes, my philosophy on that is that especially as you get older, you really have to become well schooled in internal validation for so many reasons. The way you used to validate yourself may not happen as often as you get older, but also you may be wise enough to realize that is not really the kind of validation that you need. And so many times it's not that people aren't aware, don't care, or whatever, but they're so busy living their lives. And then they do validate you, and you're like, oh, okay, great. But that's not what you really needed to hear. You wanted to hear something else, right? So you have to learn to find that inner validation. If you get it outer, someone happens to hit the mark, that's fantastic. But
Yes.
being vested in the outcome of that, this is going to validate who you are, why you are, what you are, and all of that kind of stuff, is like a setup in a way, because it just never seems to quite work out when you're counting on someone else to give you that. Okay, what did you think? Oh, it was okay. And you're crestfallen. What? No, you
Yeah.
need to be able to develop those things. Also, I think too, when it comes to personal branding, important is it for you to bring certain people like your friends and family into that process? Or is it something that you should just be a solitary journey?
There are ways to do that, but there's a parallel, like not relying on external validation. Don't get too caught up in what other people think. But I do, when we're talking about the positioning aspect, as far as looking for different language, what are the different characteristics? What are the things about me that stand out? Because it's not just about your expertise, your interests, your experience. It's like there are certain qualities you have that stand out and shine, and they really are a big part of who you are. And a lot of times people can't see that. But if you
Right.
look back, you can look at past testimonials from clients, you can look at feedback from family and friends, and you can start to see a through line of common feedback, common adjectives people use. And then you can see, oh, wow, I am like this. Or maybe you'll see something like, you don't want to be like that. And you're like, okay, that's something to change. That's not actually who I am. And that's just a temporary thing. But looking at those qualities, and then you can see, okay, how does this play a role in my business? And how could this be relevant to my audiences? And use that. it's really important. So whether that's somebody has a great sense of humor and now they can infuse that into their exchanges, or maybe somebody's very elegant and you, for example, and the business that you're in, and how can you incorporate that into the role? And it's great because it opens the door to more ideas, because then you can think, okay, if people really resonate with my voice and my elegance, I should probably be getting on camera more often. I probably shouldn't be hiding behind the scenes, because it's something that really speaks to people and it's authentic to who I am. So let me get out there. Or if somebody's funny, it's like, okay, maybe I should stop having super serious posts here. It's like, where can we find the humor there? And also, if they're more difficult topics, I don't know, if it's somebody, let's say in economics, and they have to discuss geopolitical issues, if you can inject a little humor also just to soften the content on the feed if somebody's seeing it on LinkedIn. So it's then they're able to get the information, but not getting that emotional hit that somebody might get if they're watching the news. So there are different ways you can play with it. And again, all these little elements, they just serve to make your brand even more unique.
For someone that might read your book, and the name of the book is Dream On, what is it that you want them to learn? What's some of the key learnings you hope that they experience when they read your book?
Definitely, reinvention is your birthright, and that no matter what happens, you can always come back from it.
Oh, fantastic. It's been really wonderful talking with you. I've had some confirmations about my brand, and I've also had some things like, okay, I think I'm going to look at that again. So thank you so much for being on the V.I.B.E podcast. It's been wonderful having you here today.
This has been great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you to all of you too for listening. I truly do appreciate it. Please don't forget to comment and share this podcast with someone that you think would be interested, or someone that you think you need to take a look at your brand, girlfriend. No, but to go ahead and share the podcast. And also don't forget to listen to the over 100 some odd podcasts that we've had over the last few months. There's some wonderful women, just like the guest we just had, who are experts in the field of mind, body, spirit, wellness, and all those things that kind of branch off into that. So definitely take a look at it, because all these things are designed to help you to vibe, to be more vibrant, intuitive, beautiful, and empowered in midlife. Thanks so much for listening. Have a fantastic day. And don't forget to vibe. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Vibe Living Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and share this podcast. Have a fantastic day, and don't forget to vibe. Bye-bye, everybody.